You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
On the Paracast this week, a little bit later, in just a few minutes, we'll be welcoming back longtime UFO investigator Timothy Good, who first appeared in the Paracast probably about 6 years ago. So we're happy to have him back, but first we wanted to talk about a couple of things, Chris and I. And first, of course, is the reaction to the appearance of David Roundtree on the Paracast. Chris, I've never seen it so polarized.
It's pretty amazing. We bring the best quality guests we possibly can to the show. And, of course, David, I think, ruffled a few feathers with his very direct way of presenting himself and his work. And I think he may have also ruffled the feathers of some scientists that we have that listen to the show.
What do you think of the areas that concerned you, if anything, about his presentation?
Well, I liked it, Gene. I think it's kind of a refreshing approach away from, in the realm of the paranormal, away from skulking around houses at night looking for ghosts. I found his attitude about what he does, it was quite refreshing. However, I do have some problems with, I think, some of his concepts. I think his whole idea of this this whole wormhole idea, I think, needs to be fleshed out and explained a lot better. I did not get it. But he does seem to know his science. It would have been nice to get more of a background, more background information from him about his education, etc. But I think all in all, he represents kind of a new wave of more of a high-tech approach to haunted sites, if you will, and portal area activity. And I look forward to hearing about his progress.
I think people are always concerned about the basics there, why he doesn't reveal anything about his education, but there are things you can infer because of the fact that if you look on Facebook where he says his education is private, he obviously went to school in Florida.
Well, he did let slip the Gators as a clue there, so that should give some of you inquiring Paracasters a little hint. Sounds like he went to Florida.
Okay, so now, of course, if he's going anywhere, it's in New Jersey.
Right.
I don't see why he doesn't mention it, though. I mean, people are so concerned about one's qualifications. Not that necessarily makes you better able to evaluate this stuff, but because of some instances where people were kind of fooled, led to believe somebody knew more than they knew because of their education. This is an important reason why this comes up over and over again.
Yeah. Well, we all have rationales for stating certain things about ourselves. Some people like to keep it a little bit more quiet and private. That's his right. I don't think that it serves his credibility as well as it would if he would divulge, publicly his education. The same with his research buddy Thomas Fusco. Same thing. So, I don't personally have a problem sitting behind the fact that I went to university for 5 years and didn't even bother to really declare a major or anything. I just went to attend classes. I'm perfectly okay with saying that, but some people have an issue around it in this realm, and that's their right.
I think we kind of hope, though, that understanding the situation, they would be more forthcoming. I understand he has a right to his privacy, David Roundtree, but I can't see that revealing his educational background is going to hurt him somehow.
Well, I think he was more concerned with his alma mater. I think he said he didn't want to bring any undue attention to them, going on the assumption that they might be getting some flack because of his choice of hobbies.
I don't see that.
I know.
I don't see why.
I know.
I mean, a lot of people have been involved in UFO research, and they went to normal places, and they didn't have anything to live down. I mean, Jim Moseley went to, Princeton. He didn't graduate, but he went
Alfred
there,
Weber
and I don't
went to
recall
Yale.
Princeton saying, please don't mention us.
Right. Well, Alfred Weber went to Yale. See what good it did him.
Right, and I haven't heard that Yale has officially released an edict saying, it is not our policy to ever mention his name in connection with Yale.
Yeah. Well, look what happened to John Mack. I mean, there have been examples of people, some more high profile than others, that have run into problems with educational institutions, especially if they were associated with them directly. So, but still, I don't see why David Roundtree and Thomas Fusco just can't tell us, hey, this is the level of my education. This is what I studied. You know, I'm proud of it. Make of it what you will, but you know, put your cards on the table. I don't think there's a problem with that.
Let's move over to our guest, Tim Good.
Thank you.
Mr. Good, welcome back to the Paracast.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you hear us talking about educational background. So we're going to ask you, you basically studied music.
Well, I suppose you could call it the university, but I got a scholarship to the Royal Academy of Music, where I spent 4 years, and that was after my final schooling at what we call a public school. And gosh, that's way back. But 4 years I was at the Royal Academy of Music in London. So that would be the equivalent of a university in your estimation, though quite different from, say, Oxford or Cambridge in that it specialized in music.
Now, of course, you've also worked as a session musician for a number of famous artists.
I did indeed, yes. I had 20 years in the session scene, and I don't regret any of it. It was great fun, and it was also very well paid, unlike classical music. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I had the great pleasure of playing with some of the great artists of the time. So it was great. It was great fun.
And just to mention a couple of names like Phil Collins, U2, Rod Stewart, Paul McCartney, George Harrison. Wow.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah, what a list! My goodness.
You know, some backing for some of their albums, those guys' albums.
Wow. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in a few of those sessions. Oof. Boy. So what's it like working with Rod Stewart? Is he as gorgeous in person back there in the 70s?
I never actually chatted to him. I think there was only one that I backed him on, and that was with quite a few session musicians in Wembley, which is a part of London where there are several studios, and he did a pre-record there. And it was great fun. I can't offhand remember the name of the title of the song that we did, but it was good fun. And I reckon I played on another occasion with him as well. But I certainly worked with Paul McCartney on several occasions. On one occasion, a small group of us went down to his windmill home on the south coast of Suffolk, and it was a great experience.
Wow, what fun.
We spent, most of the day there, and Linda was alive at that time, and she got tea and cakes and stuff, and McCartney was wonderful, and it was...
I delivered pizza to him once.
I beg your pardon?
I delivered pizza to him once.
Oh, well, gosh. Good for you.
At the Waldorf in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, boy, I tell you, that's quite a scene to be involved with. And, being a fellow musician of sorts, not obviously your caliber, but it's always fun to see how the professionals produce music, arrange it, and actually get keepable tracks. It's a lot more involved and a lot more difficult than most people I think would imagine. And to be in that rarefied realm, you really have to know your stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of knowing stuff, we're going to talk more with Timothy Good about his UFO research, not where he played his violin. Although that's fascinating, and I bet he's got stories that we can do another show if we did a music show. And Chris Good as a musician as well. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
These days, so many suffer from heartburn, stomach ulcers, and acid reflux, and most never realize it is the high acidity within the body that causes their discomfort. While selective diet choices can help, AlkaVision Plasma pH drops can really make a change. A few drops added to water can optimize your body's pH level, ridding you of harmful waste and acid, promoting health and restoring vibrance and energy. Healthy pH levels make all the difference. High acidity can also cause depression, insomnia, and irritability. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops bring you vital balance that can be truly life-changing. Alkalizing boosts immune response, reduces headaches and cramping, and even helps prevent bone loss. This is simple science that helps your body do what's natural. Order your AlkaVision pH drops for just $29.95 at alkavision.com, ALKAvision.com, or call 800-518-7615. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris, we're joined by Timothy Good, who is a violinist by profession and a UFO researcher. That's your hobby, UFO researcher, right?
Well, no, I'd say it's also my profession because I lecture on the subject throughout the United Kingdom, mostly to what we used to call public schools, but are now called independent schools, to the sixth form, which is the top form. I'm still doing that, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I lecture elsewhere at conferences sometimes. I'll be at the Phoenix conference in February. I think it's something like the 12th to the 16th of February. I'm just flying out. I'm being flown out for 5 days in total. So I'm looking forward to that. And I gather it's a very good conference they do out there.
Yeah, and we're in the area, and we'll probably get a chance to see you there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Gene's down there just outside of town, and I'm up towards Sedona.
Great.
And Chris is going to pay for the lunch.
There you go. Lunch is on me.
Okay, I take that as a solid commitment.
They do put on a good conference. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. The last time we saw each other, Tim, actually was in 2004 at the X conference. I tried to introduce you to Ray Stanford, and you turned on your heel and you ran from me.
What?
You did. You said, the Ray Stanford? You turned around and ran away.
All right, let me get back here because I'm obviously confused over this. This is some kind of inside baseball conversation.
No.
Okay, why would Ray Stanford bring apart that reaction?
I don't know. I was hoping to get a little bit more insight.
It's all news to me. There were two brothers, weren't there? Rex and Ray.
Rex and Ray, correct.
Who both had encounter experiences, as I recall.
Many years
back. I mean, we're talking decades ago, So
60 years ago.
And I cannot certainly remember my own encounter with one of the Stanford guys.
Yeah, I introduced you to him. He lived just a couple of towns south of Gaithersburg, where the X conference was being held. And I think you had somewhere to go, obviously, because you should have left in a hurry. the time before that, Tim, you and I flew around the San Luis Valley with John Altshuler piloting his plane.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
way back, this is going back 20 years ago.
I remember that very well, yes.
Yeah, that was quite something. And you supplied some photographs for my second book, Enter the Valley, from some of the pictures that you took, the great shots of the sand dunes and the big Blanca Mountain there. But boy, I'll tell you, that was probably one of the most scary flights I've ever taken. He had 4 radios and they all went silent.
They all blacked out when we approached the airport.
Exactly, right over the Dry Creeks area where magnetic anomalies have been known to happen. That was quite something. That was a thrilling moment
John
when that control tower
John handled that really well. He was a fine pilot and
very good pilot.
I respected him tremendously.
Yeah, well, that was the last time he ever set foot in the San Luis Valley. he swore he'd never ever come back, and he didn't.
Yeah, as I recall, he was one of the first, if not the first, to investigate the case of Snippy. Am I right?
That is correct. He was the mystery pathologist that did the examination. Yep.
And he showed me at his home dozens of slides. I'm not talking about film slides. I'm talking about glass slides with samples from mutilations. He had. I think he must have had hundreds, if not thousands, of different slides.
He did. He
brought up on the microscope for me, which I found absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it was really sad when we lost him. He died in a bicycle accident on Ride.
It was a bicycle accident. It was tragic. It was a shame. I think he got knocked off the road or something. I'm not sure of the details now at this long.
I think he got hit by a truck.
Was it by a truck? God.
Yeah, kind of John Mack style, except on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I always wondered if the truck that hit John Mack was a Mack, but I probably shouldn't go there.
Well, folks, let's now go dark and dirty and deep into your UFO studies. What got you interested first, Tim Good? And I want to start this because a lot of our listeners now weren't here with our show back in 2007. So let's talk about
and they won't have been alive when I first became interested in UFOs.
Unfortunately, you and I were both alive, but that's another story.
This was 1955.
Oh, my.
And I was at school, and a cousin from America, a cousin of my mother's called Edmund C. Berkeley, he was the guy who actually was the first to produce a magazine it was called Computers and Automation in the 1940s. He was considered a nutcase, but he was well ahead of the game to do with computers. He told me things that computers would be able to do, talking decades ahead, and it's all come true. But he came round, he stayed with us He was a second cousin of my mother, and he was well aware of my passion for aviation and space travel. And he said, Timothy, you like airplanes, you like rocket ships, you need to know about flying saucers. And so he got me a book, The Flying Saucers Are Real by Major Donald Kehoe, and mailed it to me, and I haven't looked back since then, 1955.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. That sounds like the book I read. That's the first book I read, but my story is interesting because my late brother left a copy on his coffee table in his home in Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
And I was really young. I was 11 years old at the time. So I won't reveal the real age. It's something less than 115 right now. Maybe I just feel that way. And I read that book, as you did.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I said, I got to follow up on this. And as I got older, I started running to the bookstores because it was safe then to take a subway in New York City and go from Brooklyn to Manhattan. And they had used bookstores where I'd buy used or close out UFO books. And that's how I cut my teeth on the subject.
Yeah, well, I've God knows how many books I've got now, but it's a huge amount. I don't have all the books. There's no point in just buying books for the sake of it, unless there's something specific that interests you. It's not worth getting books, and there's so much rehashing of stuff. No, it's a great subject, and of course, as most of your listeners and yourselves will be aware, it is actually, I have been told by people who are in very high positions of knowledge, that it is the most sensitive subject in the intelligence community. Furthermore, it represents a very great threat to planet Earth. Perhaps we can talk about that a little later.
Well, you're already raising the subject, but I want to ask you something first, because our listeners are always concerned about the facts behind a claim. These high sources, intelligence sources, what? I assume when you don't mention them that you're being asked to keep their name secret?
Oh, absolutely. It goes without saying.
Okay, so the obvious question people are going to ask, and we can get some skeptical people in our forums, is, all right, he says he's got these sources. How do we know that? How do we demonstrate that these sources are real? And if they are real, they're telling Tim Good the truth. We'll find out more. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
From our family to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. We are the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
According to the FBI, close to 400,000 burglaries take place in the United States between November and December each year. Seems burglars shop for the holidays too, for easy targets. Here are a few things that you can do to lower the risk of a break-in. Lock doors and windows. Don't have newspapers and mail accumulate in front of your house. Don't announce your travel plans on social media. And plug in fake TV. Burglars love the dark. Fake TV is a bit like a light on a timer, but more convincing. Plugs into any outlet and simulates the colors and movement of a real TV. Burglars will see light and movement and likely move on to easier targets. Fake TV costs less than a month of most alarm monitoring plans and makes a great Christmas gift. Or it's perfect if you're traveling over the holidays or anytime. So before you leave your house looking like an empty, easy target, order Fake TV today. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. That's 877-532-5388 or go to faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
My name's Bruno. I'm 52 years old. I've tried different protein powders over the years, and they've all tasted pretty bad. I tried One World Whey and found it to be delicious. After 10 weeks on One World Whey, my wife commented, "You have more muscles and you're leaner than when you were 20 years old." My body has changed dramatically. I'm a cyclist. Normally I'll ride 2 days on and take 2 days off. After being on One World Whey, I rode 10 days in a row in over 100-degree heat, and then I take another 2 servings of One World Whey, and then work out at the gym for another hour and a half. I just couldn't believe these results. My normal muscle tightness and soreness after working out are virtually gone. Don't take my word for it. One World Whey comes in single servings. Just give it a try.
For a health and taste sensation you'll love, call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldway.com. That's oneworld.com.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
Timothy Good joining us. He's written a number of books such as Above Top Secret and the later version Beyond Top Secret. And he's coming out with another book on UFOs. He hasn't given up on it. So you got the sense, Tim, of the question I asked here. The skeptic's point of view, saying, well, you've got these sources. How do we know they are what you say they are?
Well, obviously, I can't go beyond what I've told you, which is that I've come to know these people few and far between, though they are over a very, very long period of time. And most of the few of them, there's just a handful, give me information, have given me a great deal of information over decades, and in some other countries as well. I have a few contacts.
Okay, about these contacts, ever get the feeling that maybe some of them are giving you a little bit of disinformation? Do you know that what you're hearing from them is reliable?
I get that impression, and that only arises from the fact that I've had long friendships with these people. I mean, I'm talking about decades, with some of them at any rate. Some of them I've known for 30, 40 years, and I only ever get an occasional amount of information and occasional updates. A lot of the information remains out of date, that's for sure. Like a Washington-based aerospace journalist, he's still alive, become a dear friend, and he gave me a lot of information about what was going on, and a lot of it is quite disturbing, actually.
All right, disturbing in what way?
Well, what I've been told is that there is a tremendous threat posed to Earth, and this has been going on for decades, since the 1940s, allegedly. This is what I have been told. Some of the so-called greys, there are different species of greys, as I'm sure you're aware, have hunkered down in underground bases on planet Earth, and their objective is to take over the planet. They have a 100-year plan, supposedly. I'm very cynical about all this, as you can read from the final chapter in my book where I reference this. So this is what I've been told. That
let's just set this apart, Tim. Okay. First of all, which book was this?
This is my latest book, Earth, an Alien Enterprise.
Okay, so this one is going to tell us that.
Chapter.
Okay, the final chapter of your new book.
Yes.
And you're telling us here that, number one, there are several species of grays. And how do we know this?
All I can tell you is what I have been told from my source, from my Washington source. And I've learned a tremendous amount of information about this thing. Allegedly, they have a long-term plan to create a race of alien-human hybrids. Purportedly, they allege, to make us more peaceful. Their true purpose, that I've been told, however, is to create a passive human race incapable of violence by eradicating the human emotions that enable us to survive, thus laying us out to conquest. However, as I've pointed out, if this has been a long-term stratagem, I've yet to see much evidence of the human race becoming less violent. And in any event, these particular aliens who are trying to take over the planet in an alleged 100-year plan, supposedly, are not omnipotent, and to a certain extent they feared us. And they do have weaponry, I'm told, but some of them had been killed by our military. A number of their bases, strangely, were guarded by elements of the United States military. And the whole object was allegedly classified under something called Project Aquarius. Aquarius has cropped up in other documents as well, as I'm sure you're aware. But a great deal of information. And not everybody, even theater commanders-in-chief, were out of the loop, I have been told. But those in the loop were said to have included, I'm going way back here, several decades, to include the President, though not always, the Secretary of Defense, the Director of Central Intelligence, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And dossiers on potential, in the event of leaks, dossiers on potential offenders were supposedly prepared by security personnel to discredit their reputations in the media if they let slip with what was going on. Those few people in Congress and the media, I was told, who expressed an interest and asked too many questions were dealt with. I don't know exactly what's meant by that, but several people have, I'm told, have been dealt with terminally. A president, as well as a chairman of the Joint Chiefs, is alleged to have been abducted. As to who, I really haven't a clue. But there's a very rarely known report dating back to 1982, which I published for the first time here. I've sort of thought about publishing it for a long time, and it relates to General William Westmoreland, who was a U.S. Army general who commanded military operations in the Vietnam War, and later became U.S. Army Chief of Staff. There was a newspaper article which I got in the London Evening Standard, and it says, UFO kidnap puts U.S. Army in a flap. A report that America's Vietnam commander, General William Westmoreland, had been snatched by a flying saucer sparked off a full-scale emergency alert. The report was made by 49-year-old Mrs. Edith Mello. Security police immediately tried to track down the general. They failed, and troops at El Paso Army Base in Texas were put on full alert. We put out an all-points bulletin, said Army spokesman Ed Starnes, but 4 hours later we decided the woman's claim was just too much, so we called off the search. The Army later said that Westmoreland had been found, but they refused to say where or in what circumstances. So it's, you know, there's no way of proving that in any way, shape, or form, as far, you know, especially since it dates back such a way.
Okay, but we're dealing with something here, Tim, that obviously is going to be disbelieved. And the big question I'd ask you before we even get into more details about alien hybrids and about this secret plan to take control, and that is, why would anyone allow you to talk about it? If this is something under deep top secret, we don't want to possibly panic the populace here, knowing that our alien visitors are hostile. How would you be allowed to tell about it? Well,
I have, and I've done it. In fact, in Unearthly Disclosure, which is several books back, I touched on it. But in my latest book, I've gone into a great deal more detail, specifically or in particularly about their the way they are constructed, great details, medical details about them, which is absolutely fascinating. I can't say it's true. It's just what I've been told over a long period of time.
Do you have reason to believe that what you've been told is authentic by any verification? Have other things you've been told proven to be true?
Well, I haven't met any of these types of aliens, thank heavens, but...
I don't think you'd come back from the visit, would you?
Well, people do, but I think some of them do not have our best interest at heart. That is for sure.
Well, this goes into the theory then that's also voiced by people like Dr. David Jacobs, that a lot of the people who are being abducted, and he talks of numbers in the millions, are undergoing various physical tests for some kind of hybrid experiment. Exactly. Is that your feeling?
That's what I've been told. And I have a great deal of respect for Dr. Jacobs.
Where are these facilities that you referred to? Where are they located?
There are several of them, huge underground and undersea bases around our planet. I haven't been given any specific areas, although in my previous book, I think I mentioned that one of their bases was in the North Pacific to the west of Hawaii. There was a huge base there.
We're going to do our break now. Timothy Good joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Wishing you the brightest of Christmas seasons and best wishes for the new year from the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Yesterday, I got a notice from the IRS. They say I owe them over $16,000. I don't have that kind of money, but the notice said if I don't pay it in 30 days, they're going to go into my bank account and take my money, put a lien on my house, and garnish my wages. Can they really do that?
If you owe back taxes, unless you get help, the IRS can do all that and more. Don't try to fight the IRS on your own. Use Coast One Financial Group and let them help you get a fresh start. Their Fresh Start program that will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS or state have in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. You get a fresh start if you owe at least $10,000 in back taxes. They're so sure they can help you that they'll give you a 20% discount just for calling right now. Dial 877-328-6404. That's 877-328-6404. Again, 877-328-6404.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah, buying them another sweater, game, or other holiday gift they didn't need was nice. But this season, why not take the easy road, the safer road, and the smarter road? Get those you love something they do need. Give the gift of preparedness with Freeze Dry Guy gift cards. Since 1970, the veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for emergency preparedness with easy-to-make, delicious freeze-dried foods and dehydrated foods. These long-lasting foods are lifesavers, which come with added comfort, confidence, and convenience, perfect for any power outage, natural disaster, political crisis, or emergency at home, such as job loss or illness. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. You can't predict what's going to happen to your loved ones, but when it does, you can have them ready with gift cards from freezedryguy.com.
A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even though I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
So, is E.T. here in its various forms to take over, to create a hybrid race of humans over which they exert control? And if they are, have your sources given you a reason? Why pick humans? Aren't there other races in the universe?
There are other races in the universe, and the good news is that there are those who are genetically related to us and perhaps who were responsible for hybridizing us tens of thousands of years ago are in a situation where they have a vested interest in this planet, but for very different reasons from some of these so-called gray types, in that they think that Earth is unique. It's obviously not unique in the universe, nor indeed in the galaxy. There are other Earth-like planets, but they have a vested interest in this planet because it has so much to offer. They are supposedly in a conflict situation with these so-called hybridizing guys. And that's been going on for quite a long time. In fact, one of the reasons I should mention that there's a very controversial chapter in my book called Amicizia, which is Italian for friendship, which deals with the infiltration of various types of aliens, many of them human-type aliens, a few of them very tall. In fact, there's a photograph of a 10-foot-tall alien, very sharp photograph, not in color, unfortunately. Publishers seldom can afford that these days, but there's a black and white photograph of a 10-foot-tall alien taken by a respected Catholic historian way back in 1976. These people had infiltrated quite a number of countries in the 1950s, and there was over a period of 40 years, at least one person I know, sadly he died 3 years ago, Professor Stefano Breccia, is a scientist, and he had communications on a regular level with these people and with others for about 30, 40 years. And he even took a ride in one of their craft together with a German friend, a pilot, and the aliens everything was being monitored in case of any accidents, but the craft are very difficult to crash. They're very easy to fly. And they have actually not just given us their technology, but they have given us their craft. And this has been going on not just in Italy, but in many countries throughout the world. We are flying. Our astronauts and our pilots have been flying some of these craft since the mid-1950s. And Gordon Cooper was one of those who actually offered to fly a flying saucer onto the outside of the United Nations in New York just to prove what was going on. Quite a number of the astronauts were involved and probably still are flying actual alien vehicles, which we have been given. Why have we been given them? Because there is a threat posed by these other hybridizing species, and there's therefore a conflict.
But wouldn't you think that advanced beings who have the power and the technology to give us this craft would be able to fight the bad aliens?
Well, they have. There have been conflict situations.
On this planet, in space? Where?
I would think both. I don't know for sure. Certainly on this planet.
Wow, this is all head-spinning stuff. I've heard similar theories before, but coming from a source that you trust, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, well, that's from several different sources. So, I was very pleased to have that. And
well, I'm not sure. I always thought we were the aliens. We probably are.
We probably are.
So
we're certainly related to some of them, very closely related to some of them. So,
well, where are these supposed races coming from? Do you have any sense of what part of the neighborhood they're in?
They've given very rough sort of guides, like in that particular neck of the galaxy, there are several planets which we occupy, things like that. Nothing really specific.
Right. So what do you make of let's say Len Kasten and Project Serpo and stories that have come out within the last 10 years?
That I don't know. I'm a bit dubious about quite a few things I've read in Project Serpo, I must say. But
I think most of it you should probably have a wheelbarrow load of salt. Because some of that is so over the top with descriptions of the alien planet and whatnot. Well, why have your sources? What's the rationale for them to put themselves at risk, possibly violate national security oaths and that sort of thing, by telling you, Tim Good? I mean,
well, as far as Professor Stefano Brecci is concerned, and many of the people with whom he worked, and this was a guy, to be taken seriously. He lectured at the former Russian Academy of Sciences. He lectured at universities around the world. He was very knowledgeable as a scientist, and there were no agreements that he'd signed. The government wasn't in charge. Certainly, the Italian government wasn't, and it's probably quite different in the United States, because a lot of people who are involved in this business do have very high security clearances relating to that subject.
Well,
for example, Project Aquarius, which I cited earlier.
Right. Well, what do you think of people like Colonel John Alexander coming out saying there's no such thing? This is all.
I've read his book, and it's a joke really, because he's worked at Los Alamos and he has a very, very high top secret security clearances and so on and so forth, and he goes to great lengths to say that there's nothing to do with there are no aliens coming here, there are no unidentified objects, but that we can't explain, and so on and so forth. But in fact, the most sensitive operations relating to this subject are based at Los Alamos. I can tell you that much. I can't tell you much more than that.
Wow. Still to this day out there, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I can't possibly. I haven't the faintest idea of what's going right at the moment. Unfortunately.
Yeah. That's.
I'm out of date. I'm out of date. My information is out of date.
Well, I bet I wouldn't be surprised if they move stuff like that around too a little bit to keep everybody on their heels. If again we're dealing with reality here, to me it's always been very difficult for me to kind of buy into scenarios such as you're suggesting. I don't know. There's just so much of it that doesn't quite ring true for me. You've been in this line of work and in these investigative corridors for decades now, Tim, and so obviously you're putting two and two together and two and two and two and coming up with some pretty interesting stuff. I personally, I'm just more agnostic about it, and it's going to take a lot more.
It's good. No, one should always be objective and agnostic.
Like for instance, I heard for years that there was some sort of facility in the San Luis Valley, most often cited under Blanca Peak, and try as I might to get corroboration of many of these stories. Some from law enforcement, others from just ranchers and everyday people, never could actually find the entrance or find the ventilation.
I can agree with you on that. For example, I think it's about 30 years ago, I went out with some guys to Dulce, and we hired a plane, And we took a lot of photographs all over the Dulce Range and everything, and we talked to some of the native Indians. They weren't very talkative about it, but we never actually saw anything. We never came away with anything really concrete information about the the so-called Dulce aliens. So I don't know how much of that story was exaggerated or whether it was basically true, but pulled apart later on.
Well, I've always had the assumption or the kind of inkling that Dulce is a cover for something even more nefarious than what is alleged to be there.
Well, exactly. That is quite possible.
I think that a deal might have been made with the Apache to bury some really noxious nuclear materials from Los Alamos and elsewhere.
Sure.
And I think they've been waving a red herring with the right hand while the left hand's been degrading the environment really badly there. But I always thought that the whole Dulce base rumor started with the Paul Benowitz disinformation from Bill Moore and Richard Doty.
Right.
What sort of advice do you give people who claim to be approached by supposed ex-military types or ex-intelligence people? Anthony Sanchez comes to mind with his Colonel X scenario.
Yeah. Tread warily, and you need to get to know these people over a very long period.
We have to do our break now, but we'll explore this about the claims that at least some ET visitors are hostile, that they mean us harm. Sounds like the movie Independence Day. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
From our family to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. We are the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, Timothy Good joins us. He's written a number of books about UFOs. We'll talk about them as we progress. The latest one is Earth in Alien Enterprise, and it obviously has some frightening information. Speaking of the various things you've learned over the years, has anything that was given to you early on been shown not to be true, that you had to kind of take it back?
I wouldn't know where to start. A lot of stories. a lot of the contactees were fake, but quite a number of them were absolutely genuine, in my opinion. And I got to know some people who were having regular communications. Madeline Rodefer was a friend of mine, and she looked after George Adamski for the last few months of his life in Silver Spring, Maryland, at her home there. And in February 1965, a craft actually came in low and hovered for quite some time, describing a series of maneuvers. And Adamski filmed it with, I think, both a 16-millimeter camera and later on an 8-millimeter camera. He borrowed Madeline's camera to do the filming.
I'll tell you what, though, I have seen the analysis of anything Adamski produced, and nothing of it passed credibility. Nothing.
Well, I disagree entirely. Adamski actually had a United States government ordinance passed which gave him access to all military bases throughout the world and the White House, and that was confirmed by Dr. Jacques Vallée.
When did that happen? When was that confirmation?
About 15, 20 years ago, something like that.
That George Adamski, who ran the hot dog stand at the foot of Mount Palomar Observatory, claimed to have met ET in the desert in 1952.
George Adamski had a United States government ordinance passed, which gave him access to a lot of classified information and to military bases throughout the world.
Now, we're not talking here about the fact that he once claimed to have this letter from someone named Straith that validated what he said. We know that was, of course, a hoax.
The letter was bogus.
Of course. We know it was bogus because it was done by Jim Moseley and Gray Barker during some kind of drunken stupor. All right, this comes as kind of a strange twist. You also know that Adamski, before he wrote the part of the book that discussed his contacts and flying saucers have landed, the second half of the book, that he had written a book some years earlier with a similar story, only it was Jesus Christ in a spaceship or something.
A fictional story, yes.
A fictional story, right.
Correct, yeah.
Well, do you think that tends to lend a little bit of suspicion on his other claims?
I think it was a blend of truth and fiction. And I knew several of the witnesses who were there when the craft landed on November the 20th of 1952. And I can tell you that Adamski was very well thought of in United States military circles, and he gave a lot of information. He passed a lot of information to at least one president, according to my information. Now, in 1998, I was invited to the Defense Airborne Reconnaissance Office in the Pentagon by General Kenneth Israel, who was then in charge. And it was only a half-hour meeting, and he had several colleagues with him, but he was very much in charge. And then he opened up the debate, and I talked about an event in Washington, outside Washington, in Silver Spring, Maryland, in 1965, when a craft was actually photographed. And I had given him a book in which several images taken from that film are reproduced in the book. It was then called Beyond Top Secret. That was well after Above Top Secret. And he looked at those pictures, and he indicated to me that they were absolutely genuine and that the incident did take place as described in the book. And he was not really in a position to make a fool of himself, since he was in charge of quite a few young people from all the military forces who were there at that meeting in the Defense Airborne Reconnaissance Office. So he took it very seriously.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, though. I looked at the photos that George Adamski presented in Flying Saucers Have Landed.
Yes.
And, you know, it looked like GE light bulbs at the base of the UFO. No. It was one of the more laughable photos. Why would he do something like that?
I don't find any of them laughable. They've all been confirmed by my sources as being absolutely genuine.
Well, the sources I've read, and they've been very public sources, such as the Adamski expose issue of Jim Moseley published back in the late 1950s, show that photo did not pass muster at all.
Well, it's funny that these craft have been photographed elsewhere by other people. Some very clear pictures, not as clear as Adamski's. he took a lot of pictures of other craft as well, as I'm sure you're aware, through his various telescopes, and some very, very clear photographs in some of the larger motherships and the smaller ones leaving them.
Well, I beg to differ on some of this because Ray Stanford, who spent a considerable amount of time with him, both he and his twin brother Rex, Ray caught him red-handed in his little photo lab and had him actually show him how he got some of these objects to glow I would find that very, very suspicious. Actually, I don't believe Adamski would have done that. He had a bucket of radium. and Ray said that was the last time he ever went into that little secret little photo studio because he didn't want to become irradiated. He was using radioactive paint, actually, to make the famous shot of the mothership with the small glowing objects around it. Was actually done using radium paint that he got, I think, from an in-law who worked for a watch company.
They look like, if you're talking about the illuminated vehicles that appear near the motherships, are those the pictures you're talking about?
Correct, the dark mothership with the smaller lit objects around it. He actually showed Rex and Ray how he did that shot, according to Stanford.
According to Stanford.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever met them. I certainly communicated with one of the Stanford brothers.
No, probably Ray. Rex has not allowed himself to be associated with this field for many years.
Right.
He was, I think, the head of the psychology chair out at St. John's, or he was quite a well-respected, along with Stanley Krippner, well-respected parapsychologist, and is now retired. But boy, I'll tell you, he just will not talk to anybody about his earlier escapades, tracking down Daniel Fry.
Didn't they both have encounters, the Stanford brothers?
They did when they were very young, when they were teenagers. Some pretty interesting stories.
Didn't they have witness a landing of
in Padre Island near Corpus Christi?
Texas.
And Ray's gotten quite a number of films and photographs in the intervening years, I might add. Very impressive.
See those.
But one of the things that he did was befriend many of the contactees in the 50s, Daniel Fry, George Hunt Williamson, Truman Bethram, and really checked him out closely. And he claims that he caught Adamski red-handed in his photograph, with his photographic equipment set up.
Well, it's news to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to agree to disagree about George Adamski. Chris and I don't buy it. You do. Let's move on. Because the original question, Tim, was about things that you accepted as possibly genuine early on, but later you became skeptical. Is MJ-12 and the MJ-12 documents one of those examples?
Well, I was the first to release the document, if you recall, and Bill Moore released it shortly afterwards in the United States. I released it in my book, Above Top Secret, as you may well be aware. I think the document, and I've stated as much in the book, is probably fraudulent, but I think essentially the information therein is correct. So it's somebody's done a job of sort of, I don't know, getting the information and putting it out in such a way that some people might think that they're genuine documents. I don't think they're legitimate documents.
We have Timothy Good joining Gina and Chris, and that means you're in
the Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Good day, Jim Newcomer from Mott's Resources. December 20th, 2013. Gold opened this morning at $1193.90. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $1237.96, $618.98 for a half ounce, or $309.49 for a quarter ounce. That's $1237.96, $618.98, and $309.49.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase. And there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we have Timothy Good, longtime UFO investigator. And obviously, we disagree with him about some things, but okay. The MJ-12, even if the information on those documents were accurate, why would you fake the documents? Wouldn't you then cast some kind of level of skepticism upon the whole thing?
Well, I did when I published them. I was the first to publish them.
Right.
Have a look at Above Top Secret. You'll see it all there.
Okay, but the point being here is, if the information is genuine, why not just get real documents if they exist and prove it? Why create fake documents?
I'd like to get them for me. There must be some.
Well, you know, Stanton Friedman still believes it. Do you think he's gone a bit overboard?
I know. He thinks those documents are absolutely real, but I don't share that view.
No.
They might well have been copied and made up with one or two things.
Well, it's very artful disinformation, at the very least.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just still reeling over the Italian guy and his German friend taking a trip on a flying saucer. I mean, that lucky guys. Now, were these aliens that he was interacting with? Was this part of that famous case in the 50s of the community of non-humans that was kind of living there? I think in what it would be northeastern Italy.
Yes.
If memory serves me correct.
They were there for some of them were there for decades, and they were having meetings with people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Military guys, few politicians, scientists, people from many different professions. And Stefano, I would have put total faith in him. Sadly, as I say, he died about 3 years ago. But he was one of the most remarkable individuals I've ever met, and he had lengthy experiences. I think he only went once up in a craft, and he'd been a pilot, and he thought he found it extremely boring. The German pilot, who everything was being monitored allegedly by the aliens from a distance in case anything went wrong, but they took a flight from Italy to Cairo and back. And Stefano was just sort of taking notes, and he said he found it very boring. He much preferred flying airplanes.
It goes too fast. Well, I don't know what to say to that. Boy, I'll tell you, you sure find some pretty interesting sounding people with interesting sounding experiences. I got to give you that, Tim.
Okay.
But let's move on here. Okay. Now, obviously, and we return to the original story about hybrid aliens meaning us harm.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is the most important story. It exceeds Obamacare. It exceeds the world economy. It's something that's going to change things overnight. So how do we actually prove it?
Well, I can't unless I, dig up some of these alien guys and get them to spill the beans. You can't prove it. They're not about to do that. And I have no idea if they're still around. I have no idea what the situation is now because we just don't get information in real time. At least I don't. And this information is decades old in any case. But I do have a lot of information. And allegedly, according to my information, that the alien hybridization process has succeeded to a certain point. I've got a lot of information, which I published in the last chapter of my book, a great deal of information about them.
Okay, so there is a human-alien hybrid, and it's mixing...
I can tell you, what I've been told is that they have this plan. It's a 100-year plan, starting in the 1940s. They have a 100-year plan to try and produce a hybridized species, a mixture of human and them, these critters. And what I can say is that relating to the alien hybridization process, what I've learned is that the wombs of their females are much smaller than those of humans, thus unable to accommodate transgenic fetuses for more than 2 months. Hence, human wombs were favored. Cross-species copulation was very seldom employed since the alien male organs were too soft. Thus, artificial insemination prevailed. The fetuses extracted prematurely after the 2-month period were nurtured somehow until reaching term at 7 months. In addition to their cross-breeding experiments, I was told, these aliens supposedly had experimented with various types of bacteria and viruses, which gave rise to concern. Though generally thinner and shorter and with somewhat larger heads and eyes, the hybridized men and women appeared human. Some of both sexes appeared well-formed, even good-looking. However, at that time anyway, I was told, they were unable to vocalize as we do, owing to underdeveloped tongues and larynxes. By way of food, they consumed nothing solid. Some of these hybrids lived in the aliens' bases on Earth, others elsewhere, including their own planets. Only a few lived among us. The aliens reckoned it would take around 100 years for them to infiltrate our planet.
The theory being, based on what you're saying, Tim, is that over time, as they perfect this hybridization process, we have alien hybrids who would be visually, at least, indistinguishable from humans?
That's the object of the exercise.
Okay, so therefore, by another 20, 30 years, it comes to pass?
Well, as I say, it started. They had a 100-year plan maximum, starting in the 1940s. So I don't know. Let's wait and see if I can get any more information, which I don't have, and all that information is out of date anyway.
Well, if they're trying to make the human race less violent, they're not doing a very good job.
No.
Jeez. Oh my.
Exactly. Which is what I pointed out sarcastically.
Right. Well, what about the cattle mutilation phenomenon? I'm putting the finishing touches on the first real case history.
Well, again, they require obviously something is required, materials from cattle and other animals. Perhaps
so you agree with Linda Howe's assertions that the single one-size-fits-all answer to that particular mystery is some sort of non-human intelligence that's, predating on cattle.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know whether it's still going on. The farmers sort of are less inclined to talk these days, so I'm told. So I've no idea. I don't know if you have any updates on that. You don't hear much about cattle mutilations, do you, these days?
Oh yeah, I've got plenty. I'm finishing up a 500-page book on it. So finally,
great.
somebody's.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! Gosh, I'll be the first to buy a copy.
Yeah, well, I've been working on it since I met you 20 years ago, and it's looking at it as objectively and as from a objective, neutral place as possible without jumping to any, firm conclusions. Let the data kind of lead me. Some people are going to have issues with that, I hope. But the subject, I think, is so compelling because of our ancient relationship with livestock, which I go into quite at length, and the practice of animal sacrifice, and the fact that cattle mutilations are only exclusively reported in Christianized countries, for instance. There's a lot of interesting facts that nobody has really noticed, I think it's going to turn a few heads.
We're going to turn this head, or turn this on its head. Tim Good joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Wishing you the brightest of Christmas seasons and best wishes for the new year from the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
An e-cig revolution is sweeping across the country. But is yours American-made? Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig is. Manufactured in Arkansas with 100% USA-sourced ingredients. And when you buy American, you support local jobs. Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig is top quality at an affordable price. The very principle that once drove the American economy. Get great taste with no ash, tar, or smoke. You'll be wondering why you didn't make the change to Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig a long time ago. LeSig.com has everything you need, for beginners to the advanced vaping enthusiast, with a wide variety of hardware, and also imported e-liquid flavors as well. Plus, LeSig smokes the competition with fast, free, same-day shipping, real people customer service, and a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Support our country and become a Vaporite at LeSig.com. Or call 870-525-1440. 870-525-1440. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
A healthy digestive system supports a healthy immune system. And a healthy immune system protects you against infections and disease. Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse, available at Terraganics.com, is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic and is gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 contains 3 groups of beneficial microbes and enzymes to cleanse and remove toxins, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, and aids in controlling yeast and other infections. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy-free, is non-GMO, has all natural certified organic ingredients, has no preservatives, and is never freeze-dried. Pro EM1 is the key to your digestive health. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com. Terraganics.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
On the Paracast with Gene Steinberg and Chris O'Brien, and Timothy Good joins us, written Above Top Secret and other books. Now, the book that Chris is working on is called Stalking the Herd. We're currently looking at the layout and design of the book. It's going to look really good, really elegant when you get a copy. But Chris, your conclusion here is that it's not an ET-related phenomenon, cattle mutilations, right?
Well, I would probably have that at the bottom of my list, yeah. I think there's a lot more going on that's much more homespun. I think there's some very serious environmental monitoring going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a real concern within Big Agro about the potential spread of prion disease in the food chain. I think that's a motivating factor. I think the body of evidence that once you put all these databases together, the body of evidence really suggests that there's multiple groups involved, that this is not an easy one-size-fits-all answer to this mystery, that it's highly complicated. There's probably multiple groups piggybacking agendas on top of one another. I can't factor the alien, the extraterrestrial hypothesis in regards to this mystery. I can't factor it out, but like I said, it would be the least likely one that I would factor in.
Okay.
But we'll see. I'll just let everybody come to their own conclusions, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of information. There's areas of high incidence that feature Bigfoot before mutilations start. The proximity around nuclear materials, uranium mines, power plants, missile bases. Over 80 mutilations occurred within the Malmstrom missile fields in the mid to late 70s, for instance. Warren Air Force Base, Offutt. I mean, the list of bases. I mean, one right outside, literally within sight of the door of NORAD's entrance into Cheyenne Mountain.
That's right.
It's an amazing, complicated subject, and it's to the efforts.
A lot of missiles were neutralized too at one stage. I'm sure you recall all that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, there were definitely some shutdowns, including as recently as 2010, according to Robert Hastings.
Robert Hastings has written an excellent book, as you know. I've talked about it with him.
Yep. He lives in the San Luis Valley now.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
In a very remote part of it, I believe.
Well, he's up north with a bird's eye view of the entire southern 3/4 of the valley. Yeah. Beautiful spot. Beautiful spot. Well, I'm jealous. I want to take a ride on a spaceship, Gene. Man, that would be the thrill of a lifetime. Boy, that'd make all this worthwhile.
Yes,
me too.
Chris, but look at it this way. What if E.T. decided to create a hybrid version of Chris O'Brien? That would be the biggest nightmare of all, other than making a hybrid version of me. Making a hybrid version of Timothy Good, on the other hand, that would be fine.
Yeah. Boy, two of me running around, that's a scary thought.
Well, maybe that's what's going on in this TV show, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Agent Coulson was killed in the movie The Avengers, but now he seems to be alive, so what's going on?
I don't know, but speaking of new shows, or what? Anybody see that new show with Daryl and Mike Barra, Maureen Ellsbury, I think, and isn't what the heck? Who else is in that? Gene, did you see that show?
Which show is this?
It was on Sunday night. It's like the latest Chasing UFO show. Daryl Sims, I believe, is in it. Mike Barra, Maureen Ellsbury, down from the Open Minds crew.
You know what? I never watched those shows for one reason. After Chasing UFOs, I was jaded. In fact, they should have a new show called Jaded UFOs for people who are sick of the whole thing, especially the reality shows.
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't. I didn't at all.
Okay. I was just checking. I haven't heard any feedback from it, so I'm not sure if that's a good thing, or it was just on Sunday. But we are getting off topic here.
Okay, we won't get too far off topic, but let me get started with something else, which our listeners might want to know about Timothy Good. Have you experienced anything unusual personally? You seem to have access to all sorts of information. We can argue how authentic that information might be. But have you had a UFO or other paranormal type encounter?
I've never seen a UFO up close. My sightings occur like once every 15 years, and it's usually a dot or something in the sky. So I've not seen a UFO close up. However, I have had 3 encounters with people I believe were aliens. And the first was in 1963 when I was touring the United States with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. It wasn't long after Kennedy's assassination. We were driving from Tucson to Los Angeles, which is about 520 miles, I think, in a convoy of 3 Greyhound-type coaches. And they kindly gave us 1-hour break on that 520-mile trip to get some food. And we pulled in at a diner and everything, and we were there for 1 hour. And I saw somebody waiting in line who immediately alerted my attention. And this was a very petite, very attractive woman. There's something extraordinarily alert about her. And so in my mind, I sent her a telepathic message. If you're from elsewhere, is there any way you can walk by my table and prove it? Well, I was with 3 other colleagues. We were sitting on sharing a table, eating our food. And after she'd got through the line, she made a point of coming past me, gave a fantastically low, gracious bow, smiled sweetly, and then walked away. Was that convincing? Well, it was. I mean, even my colleagues thought it was unusual, and they wanted, what's that all about, Tim, sort of thing, But more convincing was in 1967 when I was working with another orchestra, Carnegie Hall, this time with the London Symphony Orchestra. And one afternoon, I thought I'd just sit down quietly in the lobby of the Park Sheraton Hotel, as it was then called, and I sent out some telepathic thoughts. Any of you guys in the New York area, could you come down, sit down next to me and prove it? So about half an hour or so went by, and finally a man comes in, immaculately dressed, about 5'10", pale olive complexion, very cool, calm, and collected looking, absolutely immaculate, his clothing and everything. And he looked at me quite seriously, then he came and sat down beside me. So I thought, right, I'm going to ask him something telepathically. So in my mind, I said, if you're the guy I'm looking for, would you take your right index finger and hold it to the right side of your nose and keep it there? And no sooner had I thought that, and he did exactly that, and he kept his finger on the right side of his nose for not that long a time. But and then people say, why don't you talk to them? Well, I didn't, and I didn't feel it was appropriate. I thought if he'd wanted to talk, he could have spoken, but he didn't. And eventually he just walked out into 7th Avenue, and I never saw him again. Cut to about 9 years ago, which was my last encounter, I was the guest of honor the speaker at a prestigious debating salon in Wrocław in Poland. And it was the first time that the subject of UFOs had been brought up, and there was a lot of controversy about it. This is, I say, a very prestigious debating salon. There were people there, retired politicians, military guys, military pilots, professors from universities, retired, some still working, people from all walks of life, about 70, 75 in the audience. And I was the guest of honor, and I gave my presentation with slides. And then I'd noticed throughout the evening, because it was quite a long evening, it started at 7 and ended at just after 11 o'clock, but I only had to speak for 35 minutes with slides and so forth. And I noticed this guy sitting not that far away from me, immaculately dressed, similar in some respects to the guy I'd seen in New York in 1967. And I tried a bit of telepathy. There was absolutely no response whatsoever. But I then, in the interval, people say, Tim, why don't you try and get some photographs of these guys you say you're having encounters with? So I actually tried.
So he tried, but we got to try this first. Tim Good joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
From our family to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. We are the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
Hi, this is Steve Sanchez, and based on a recent study, it was found that 57 million Americans had legal issues over the last 12 months, but only 60% of those studied sought out the services of a lawyer. Why? In a nutshell, affordability. Well, my friends at Legal Shield have created a solution that can help you not if, but when you need an attorney. For as little as $17 per month, Legal Shield will provide you unlimited access to qualified attorneys at an accomplished law firm for advice and counsel on legal issues, no matter how serious or trivial. For over 40 years and with 1.4 million families across North America, Legal Shield can help you, the loyal GCN listener. Representatives are standing by now to answer your questions, so call them now at 1-855-340-SAVE. That's 1-855-340-7283, or visit them at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, listen carefully. Sweeping changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever eliminate their tax debts once and for all. And now, thanks to Dan Pilla, you can get the tax help you need to end your tax nightmare.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I've helped thousands of people reduce or eliminate tax debts they couldn't pay. And after more than 30 years of experience dealing with the IRS, I can tell you there's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. With the IRS's new policies, it's easier than ever to put your tax debt behind you once and for all. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. Call 800-346-6829. Learn how I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
Hello, it's Tom Chenault from The Tom Chenault Show. We are experts in home-based business and residual income. We show people how to make money from their home, either part-time or full-time. And in partnership with Genesis Communication Network, we've organized a team to fight back about people not having money, time, or health. And we need your help. What we want you to do is, if you've got an interest in building an organization to fight back against people taking our money, taking our time, and taking our health, we want to talk to you. All you need to do is call this number, 855-308-8326. Again, all you want to do is call 855-308-8326. You can make a tremendous amount of money and end up fighting for a great cause. Please call us right now.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
So Timothy Good tells Gene and Chris he actually tried to take photographs of these strange people that he met. What happened?
Well, I started taking a photograph in three parts because it was a large room, and I had then a Minox camera, just a pocket type camera. I didn't use my large camera. I didn't want to be too obvious, and I took two photographs on the right side. People were just coming back from the break, and then the central section. And then I was about to take a picture of the area where he was sitting when a voice came out from nowhere. A huge booming voice came out from the back of the room saying the speaker's not allowed to take photographs. And I couldn't see who'd said that or anything, so I thought, oh okay, I just apologized to whoever or whatever. Anyway, cut to the end of the whole proceedings, because people could sort of stand up and make comments about this and that relating to the subject. They could talk for, I think, up to about 6-7 minutes, something like that. The last person to speak was this guy who I'd had my eye on. And the subject of his presentation was Earth's future in space. Naturally, I was all ears and eyes, and that was the end of the presentation, and he walked slowly towards me afterwards. He was obviously going to pass by where I was. I went to shake his hand. He shook my hand, but there was no strength to it at all. It was a complete limp handshake, and he looked at me completely unblinking like a zombie. He did not answer my question. I'd said to him, I think you have a great deal of knowledge. He said absolutely nothing. And it was it was a completely wet handshake, nothing, no grip of any sort whatsoever. I gave him my business card, and then he just walked away. Fast forward 5 minutes. I was meeting my friends because they were taking me back to this hotel in a lovely old converted castle outside Wrocław in Poland. And I said, who's that guy that was the last person to speak? He said, he's very interesting. He always has something very interesting to say, because my people who were putting me up in the hotel went to these monthly debates regularly. And he said, he's always got something very interesting to say. I said, yes. What did he actually talk about? And they said, yes, it was about Earth's future in space. I said, yes. But what did he say? None of us, there was about a group of 10 of us, could remember anything about what he'd said, even though we recalled it at the time. Now, this was absolutely bizarre. To cut a long story short, I tried to get an audio. The speaker is supposed by contract to have photographs of the event, including the audience. Supposed to get audio tape of the presentation, of all the speakers, everything. I got nothing. I could get nothing. I couldn't get any photographs that were taken there, and there was a professional photographer there. I could get nothing. Nobody could remember what this guy had said. I could not get in touch with anybody who was organizing the debate, so it remains a complete mystery. I shall never get to the bottom of it, probably, but that's exactly what happened.
Do you think we're talking about some kind of mind control here?
Definitely. I think we were all influenced in some way to just take that story out of our minds for the time being, and it was just imparted subliminally.
Well, is it possible then that the entire thing was a phantom, or something that was a fantasy?
It was very real,
that didn't
believe you me.
You know it's real, but you don't remember it fully.
I remember meeting him very, very well and in all detail. The only thing I don't remember is what he said, and neither did anybody else of my party. There were about 10 people.
That is quite bizarre. My goodness. When you started talking about a small, diminutive, good-looking woman in 63 in Tucson, I immediately thought of Truman Bethram and Ora Raines.
Oh, yes.
It almost sounds like you met Ora Raines, because wasn't she around that area in the early 60s?
She was, but she had dark hair and brown eyes, as I recall. Ora Raines, I think. I remember that story.
Maybe she dyed her hair before she met you.
She could have been wearing a wig.
I think that was way before 1963, wasn't it? What do you think? Was it in the late 50s, I think?
I think it was the late 50s or maybe early 50s, now that I'm thinking about it. I have a signed Truman Bethram aboard a flying saucer. I have a copy of the book, and I've always had my eyes open for the entire book of rhyming couplets that he wrote in his passion for Ora Raines. He wrote an entire book of rhyming couplets.
A separate book, obviously.
Pardon me?
A separate book, quite apart from...
Yes. This was just a tribute to her from a starstruck admirer.
But a fast question occurs to me as you were talking, Chris. Could Ora Raines have been some kind of metaphor for an affair he did have, but he couches it in this meeting up with E.T. story to maybe take away suspicion from the real cheating that he was doing?
Having never met the man, I obviously I can't say, but Ray Stanford spent a considerable amount of time with him, and he said out of all the contactees, that was the one case that he always felt had the most chance of being real because of the primary experiencer, Bethram, and his genuine feelings that he appeared to have for this small little, she would think she was 4 or 5 or something, tiny little thing, who was the captain of this big, huge flying saucer that landed out in the desert. And also, she had a piece of jewelry made for him, which not many people know about. That Ray told me the story of this particular piece of jewelry, and it's pretty interesting. Again, you have to take all these stories. Some of them are more apocryphal than others, and you have to take them with a grain of salt. But I don't know, Tim. Maybe Ora Raines did come back, and you saw her in line there. She came over and gave you a bow. I love that. It's a great little touch.
Yeah, curtsy, actually. It was fantastic.
Oh, she curtsied.
And very low. Mind you, she was certainly no more than 5 foot.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. It could have been Linda Howe. She was kind of small and petite back then. I don't see Linda doing curtsies, though. I don't think that would be her style. Well, Tim, we have some questions from our listeners that we get them to post on our forum at forum.theparacast.com. Okay. And I do have a couple of questions here. This one comes from Blowfish, who's one of our real diligent posters, and he's always asking good questions. He kind of wants a sense of what you've learned over the years. He says, what's your overall feeling of the UFO subject now? And what are the main lessons that you've learned from this field from when you first started out? Has anything changed in your thinking, or has it become more entrenched, or are you more alarmed now? Give us a sense of how your process has evolved.
What I've learned over the years, that there are different types of aliens, that I would say thousands of people on this planet have had contacts. Probably hundreds have actually had communications on board craft, being taken on board craft. It certainly never happened to me. I've never been offered. I've never seen a craft even close up, to the best of my knowledge. But there are definitely aliens living among us, that I'm absolutely sure. I've described some of the experiences, or just about all of the experiences I've had since 1963. I've never seen a craft close up, unfortunately, but and I certainly haven't seen any of the the so-called grey species, any of those. But it seems to be a very challenging situation to know exactly what's going on, and that I find extremely frustrating. It's a very complex, very, very complex subject. But I'm satisfied that some of them do have our best interests at heart, and they have given us a tremendous amount of information to advance our technology and our understanding of Earth and the universe.
Wow. Well, you have been at this for quite some time, and never ceases to amaze me, some of the stories that over the years come out. And you've been a lightning rod for quite a number of them over the years, and some pretty eye-opening claims. This one comes from Ufology, who has a really interesting UFO organization in Calgary, Alberta. And it's kind of a long question, but basically he's asking, where do you draw the line between being personally convinced that alien visitation in general is true and more specific claims, such as where they're from, why they're here, theories on government infiltration, location of bases, them walking around among us? In other words, where do you draw the line between what you're told and what you accept as being true and real?
Before we have the answer to that question with Timothy Good, joining Gene and Chris, it means you're in
the Paracast.
Wishing you the brightest of Christmas seasons and best wishes for the new year from the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
It's that time of year again, and you know what that means. Cold and flu season. But don't worry, herbalhealer.com has you and your loved ones covered with our safe and natural products. Cold and flu fighters like beta-glucans, olive leaf antiviral capsules, grapefruit seed extract, HHA 4-herb capsules, elderberry power, and respirate. And don't forget about oregacillin for the lungs, normally $34.95, on sale now for only $25. Vitamin D3 120-count soft gels, only $9. Whole body and homeopathic detoxes for the lungs, kidneys, liver, lymph, and brain, normally $26.95, now just $20. Herbalhealer.com also offers correspondence courses to teach you how to handle your health naturally. And as always, new customers get a free 128-page catalog with your order. Visit herbalhealer.com and click the Winter Specials button to save on our natural cold and flu fighting products. Herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Our final 4 segments of the Paracast. We're talking with Timothy Good, who has been a professional musician, a violinist, working with very famous artists, written some UFO-related books, the most recent of which is called Earth, an Alien Enterprise. Tim, you were asked a rather involved question from one of our regular listeners and posters, Ufology. We all call him by his real name, Randall. What's your response?
Well, I think he asked me, could you repeat his question again for me?
Well, basically, it's where you draw the line of acceptance from some of the stories that you've been told versus what you personally believe to be true. And how do you draw that line?
It depends. It's essential to meet witnesses, and I draw the line sometimes extremely rapidly. After 5 minutes interviewing witnesses who are making various claims, there are a lot of charlatans out there, as I'm sure you all accept. And even identifying unidentified objects. I mean, it's so easy to mistake all sorts of objects we see in the sky for genuine flying saucers and spaceships and things. But it has been done, and I'm convinced that many photographs that have been taken are absolutely legitimate. It's sometimes extremely frustrating getting the proof for a lot of these claims, and a lot of claimants, unfortunately, they either exaggerate or they want to make themselves famous, or I don't know. But there are a lot of charlatans in this business, unfortunately. Probably less so nowadays than in the early days, but they're still around.
Boy, I'll say. Are you familiar with a YouTube show by these two twin brothers that boasts all this footage that's supposedly real and touted as real, which obviously is character generation, Photoshop, After Effects, those sorts of desktop video artifact creation.
Well, there's a lot of that. I mean, you can do anything now. I mean, anything can be fabricated nowadays, can't it?
So, what's your litmus test for accepting particular evidence as real?
You'd need to be qualified. I mean, you need people, for example, to study individual negatives or slides or whatever it is, video material. There's just so much nonsense. But with Photoshop, anything can get by, and people will find it very, very convincing. Unfortunately, that's the way things have moved now.
Well, why do you think people are generally so gullible, and they don't have
they're not
the powers
necessarily
of discernment?
gullible. They just want to make people look stupid by believing them. That comes into it a lot, I think.
Well, I think there's a lot of very undiscriminating, not up to speed folks out there that'll believe anything that comes down the pike that fits into their preconceived notions. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's some more questions. This one comes from Vesvi High Folk, who's now joined the 1000 Post Club here at forum.theparacast.com. And he wants to know what you consider to be the best case for alien visitation. Now, we were discussing this case in Italy. Are there any others that really impress you more than others?
Well, there was a case dating back to 1963 when a dear friend of mine, a lady, was doing a survey, a market research survey in not Sheffield, but not far from Sheffield, in central England, in a rather beautiful remote type park area, lots of hills around and rocks and stuff. And she'd got some food, and she was just sitting waiting outside from her car and having a sandwich and stuff. And suddenly she saw this flying saucer actually land below her. Landed, and somebody got out, and as somebody got out of the craft, a human-looking person got out of the craft, another guy drew up in a car and came running down into the valley, and they greeted each other, and the guy from the spacecraft turned around and waved at the ship. The ship took off at very, very high speed, and then they went in a car, and it turned out, to cut a long story short, that my friend actually found out where they'd gone back to the house. She was invited in, and one of the guys said that he was from elsewhere, gave her a lot of information, and she befriended him over a long period. There were two of them she got to know. And this is a very down-to-earth lady. Market research was her speciality. Very cynical about life in general at the time. And the meetings went on. She had many meetings with them, with other people present. She learnt a great deal of information about these particular, very human-appearing aliens. And they gave her, as I say, a lot of information. And that was one of the more convincing cases. But I knew her for years. Unfortunately, I didn't see any of her aliens, but she was very, very convincing.
Did John Altshuler ever tell you about attending a conference, a UFO conference in the early 90s, maybe 89 or 90, down in Miami, if I remember. And by the time he got there late. Evidently, they had run out of rooms. So a guy who was there checking in said, I'd be happy to share my room with you. So John shared a room with this guy. He really didn't have any options at that hotel. And he claims that at one point, I think either was it at night or in the morning, he was asleep and he woke up and he happened to look and he could see the guy through the bathroom door taking out or putting in human-looking contacts, and he turned and looked at John, who was still lying in bed, and he had vertical slit pupils. And John,
this is not the TV show V, is it?
No, but no. John said that he never got out of a place. He didn't attend the conference. He did not pass go. He did not collect $200. He got the heck out of Dodge.
He never told me that. I wish he'd told me that.
Yeah, he said that was the weirdest experience he ever personally had in his life. That was the one that took the cake. I've run into some aliens too here in Arizona, but they're all just of Hispanic heritage. I don't tend to run into the off-planet types. Well, that leads me to a question, Tim. What do you think about the work of Henry Stevens, Joseph Farrell, people who have done quite a bit of digging into the state of the art of human technology, going all the way back to the Germans in the 20s and 30s? Do you place any sort of credence in?
I don't know. Tell me those names again. They're not familiar to me.
Henry Stevens, of course, who wrote about, and Ronaldo, who wrote about Nazi flying saucers, and Joseph Farrell, who has written quite a number of books looking at the financial records of certain people involved with Operation Paperclip and, Reinhard Galen and others.
Yeah.
Do you put any sort of stock in the United States and the Allies appropriating exotic technology at the end of World War II? Do you have any?
Oh yes,
sense?
I think the Germans were in on it quite early. Myself, I think there's a lot of evidence for that.
Have you ever really dug into the Nazi saucer man-made technology?
No, I've got several books on it, but I have not gone into it in great depth. I'm suspicious of quite a few books that I have read.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
Yeah, because I've always thought that Jacques Vallée, of course, was on the right track by mentioning that this is a really fertile ground and a very, very the high potential for societal manipulation with the flying saucer images and information about aliens. How can the average person wade through the morass of this field without the kind of education the three of us have in the field and really make sense of all this?
With difficulty is the answer to that.
The short answer is you don't.
Now, in case you're wondering how to ask questions of our guests, it's very simple. Whenever we book a guest far enough in advance for it to make sense, we post something in the question bank located at forum.theparacast.com. That's forum.theparacast.com. Our guest is Timothy Good, joining us for the second time over the years on the Paracast. And that means with Gene and Chris, you must be in the Paracast. Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's the number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realist, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the US dollar index has tanked 30% while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well, free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
In the U.S., 1 in every 50 homes will have a break-in this year. Burglars call it smash and grab. Police call it robbery. We call it avoidable. We are Fake TV, a simple electronic device that can fool even professional burglars. Fake TV easily plugs into any outlet and simulates the changing colors of a television. To a burglar, it looks like someone must be home watching TV, so they'll likely move on to an easier target. At only $34.95, Fake TV costs less than a month of most alarm monitoring plans and makes a great Christmas gift, or it's perfect if you're traveling over the holidays. Order your Fake TV by calling 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. That's 877-532-5388 or faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
Hi, my name is Annette, and due to menopause symptoms for nearly 2 years, I suffered severe hot flashes, which prevented me from sleeping all night. It was so hard to work because I continued all day to have the hot flashes from hell. I was exhausted and depleted. After only 3 weeks on One World Way, I have no hot flashes, and I'm sleeping normally again. I feel energized and strong. This is an amazing product.
It is a little-known fact that every single cell of your body is supposed to produce 10% of its protein content as glutathione. But due to toxicity and aging, it does not. Could glutathione be a missing factor in optimal cell function for your entire body? If you restore the optimal glutathione levels in your cells, especially your glands and organs, then as a result, your glands and organs work better. Imagine the quality of life improvement you might have. To order One World Way, call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldway.com. That's oneworld.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Chris is not bringing out his inner gray there. But I wanted to ask you, Timothy Good, in all your research, you say that we have several alien races visiting us. From where? Where do they come from?
It's a good question. I have a feeling that some of them actually come from this planet and that they've had bases on here for a very, very long time. Others, quite obviously, come from elsewhere, either on moons of various planets in our solar system, or even maybe on some of the planets. We don't know everything. I don't think we're told everything. For example, some have suggested, Paul Laviolette, for example, has written an excellent book, and he suggests that NASA is the cover for United States Air Force Space Command. And in one of his books, he's written that a lot of these craft are actually, the United States Air Force Space Command has its own fleet of transporter craft, all sorts of things, and that they've been going to and from the moon for decades. So a lot of what we're told isn't actually factually accurate.
Okay, so you're talking about the so-called secret space program, that NASA is the public relations arm. It does a few half-hearted efforts, and then the real thing is happening behind the scenes.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, so we've gone to the moon. Is this an alien craft that we've gotten from ET?
I don't know, but certainly United States Air Force Space Command have shuttle fleets going to and from the moon, and perhaps further afield. According to Paul Laviolette, who is a physicist, he's written a very good book.
Where are they taking off from? Is there a base on Earth that they take off
Apparently, they have a base in the mid-Pacific, U.S. Air Force Space Command.
This is not something that we could readily prove.
I think it might be difficult.
You spend a lot of time on Google Earth, looking at the bottom, because they have Google Earth under the ocean now, I believe, don't they?
Honestly, I don't know, but that would be fascinating.
Okay, so you're talking here, Tim Good, about the fact that some of these alien beings have been here for an awful long time, but they're still not from here. Is that correct?
Did you say they're still not from here? Did you say I missed what you were saying?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. You're saying that some of these visitors have been here for a long time. So
Correct.
when we see them, they're not coming from another world to us. They already have bases here.
Well, I would say both. I think they certainly do have bases here already, but they're coming and going. And from what I gather, space flight in their types of craft is virtually instantaneous. Phenomenal technology.
You mean like warp drive?
Whatever.
Wormholes?
I know nothing about wormholes, but maybe they make use of them. I don't know.
Or they use stargates? That's instantaneous.
I don't know.
But you never consider the possibility that there is some sort of breakaway civilization or another race of people who are from Earth as much as we are.
Mm-hmm.
They have developed an advanced technology, but for whatever reason, except at higher levels, they never communicate with us at all.
Well, it's not always at high levels. I mean, in the Amicizia case, which I've written about, it's a very, very complex scenario, the whole thing about the Italian Amicizia case. But, I mean, it goes back to the 1950s. And even in more recent years, there's still some sort of activity going on with these guys who are communicating with dozens of people from all walks of life in Italy and in other countries, apparently.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about an entire space fleet, then there's a chance that what Gary McKinnon stumbled on back in the 90s may actually be real information.
Yeah, he's a friend. I respect what he says, and he saw, as you know, something that looked like a huge mothership on a screen, one of the screens that he hacked into.
Yeah, all with a Commodore 64 and a dial-up modem, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So he found out quite a lot of information.
Well, why you, Timothy Good? Why are you somehow attracting these sources and cultivating relationships with people that are in the classified world and claim to have this quite amazing stories and knowledge? What do you think has happened in your professional life that has allowed these people the motivation and the trust to come forward and speak with you, other than the people that you've known for quite some time that you mentioned earlier? These news sources that come out every now and then. What is it about you? Is it something that you could put in a bottle, maybe give workshops? I love people to come to me and say these things.
No. It's not unique, and it's very occasional. I don't get these tidbits of information every day. Years can go by before I get anything that's really helpful. Just a hint here and there.
Yeah.
So I don't know everything that's going on by any means.
Well, here's one that I know that you have dug into, and this involves the claim that Dwight Eisenhower allegedly met with aliens at Holloman Air Force Base. And this question comes from SRL, who is one of our posters at forum.theparacast.com. And he goes, Mr. Good, can you offer any insight as to the physical description of the aliens that Eisenhower met at Holloman or at Edwards Air Force Base?
No information has been given This was in 1955 at Holloman Air Force Base. Originally, this was at the height of the war of words with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was starting to explode hydrogen bombs, and so were the Americans. And everything was in a dire state, at which time Eisenhower said he needed a holiday and he was going quail hunting in Georgia. In fact, that was the cover story for, he did go to Georgia, but pretty soon he went back into Air Force One and he was taken to Holloman for an arranged meeting with an extraterrestrial or several, I don't know. No information has been forthcoming about what he learnt, and no photographs have been released at any rate, but he did enter into their craft, and I think he was there for some 30 minutes, and he was given a lot of information, and we don't know more than that. But a lot of people did actually witness the alien vehicle when it landed and when it took off. A lot of military guys at Holloman did witness that. That was in 1955. In 1954, Eisenhower had at least 2 meetings at what was then called Muroc Airfield, Edwards Air Force Base now. And on another occasion, Eisenhower had 3 meetings in 1954 at 2 Air Force bases.
We'll go into more of meetings by presidents with them.
Okay.
With Timothy Good, I got to do the break. Timothy Good joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
From our family to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. We are the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah, buying them another sweater, game, or other holiday gift they didn't need was nice. But this season, why not take the easy road, the safer road, and the smarter road? Get those you love something they do need. Give the gift of preparedness with Freeze Dry Guy gift cards. Since 1970, the veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for emergency preparedness with easy-to-make, delicious freeze-dried foods and dehydrated foods. These long-lasting foods are lifesavers, which come with added comfort, confidence, and convenience, perfect for any power outage, natural disaster, political crisis, or emergency at home, such as job loss or illness. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. You can't predict what's going to happen to your loved ones, but when it does, you can have them ready with gift cards from freezedryguy.com.
A healthy digestive system supports a healthy immune system. And a healthy immune system protects you against infections and disease. Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse, available at Terraganics.com, is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic and is gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 contains 3 groups of beneficial microbes and enzymes to cleanse and remove toxins, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, and aids in controlling yeast and other infections. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy-free, is non-GMO, has all natural certified organic ingredients, has no preservatives, and is never freeze-dried. Pro EM1 is the key to your digestive health. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com. Terraganics.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
Hi, this is nuclear physicist lecturer Stanton Friedman. You are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So, can we prove that President Eisenhower, as has been rumored, met up with E.T. on 3 occasions, is it?
Well, I'm aware of 3 occasions. It's quite possible there were others, but I don't know more than that.
So were these the good ETs or the bad ETs? We hope the good ones.
I don't know. I would think the good ones, because nothing harmful came from the meetings, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think they were described as the big nose orange guys or something.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
They had wrinkled foreheads, large noses.
No description has been forthcoming.
Huh.
Aren't you glad that's a horrible pun? That we still have a few more questions from our listeners to ask, Chris?
Sure.
Well, this one again comes from Randall up in Calgary, and I think he's fascinated by your esteemed career as a musician, and he wants to know if you've ever had the opportunity to discuss UFOs with other musicians, and if so, can you share any stories and tell us what high point for you was in your musical career? Is a follow-up question.
Honestly, I wouldn't know where to start. I mean, I've discussed my own experiences with those who are interested, and I discussed the subject in general with people. But
Robbie Williams has been out there alien sleuthing. Of course, Reg Presley for many years was interested in the subject in crop circles as well. We had Colin Andrews on just a number of weeks ago, and he spoke very, very fondly of.
He's still living in the East Coast?
Yes, he is. He's in Connecticut, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing well. He sounded good. Always liked Colin. It was my first chance to really talk with him at length. But he did mention that there have been musicians. I think David Bowie, John Lennon, others, the Moody Blues, Justin Hayward, I think, claimed to have had sightings. There have been a number of English musicians over the years that have claimed this. Have you ever had a chance to talk to any of these guys?
I haven't really, no, because nothing really dramatically I mean, Reg Presley I got to know. So he was a nice guy. I can't even recall if he had any experiences himself, but he's very interested in the crop field circles and things like that.
He wrote a book about it some years back. Don't know how well it sold. He died a few years ago, as you know. But also, when we talk about show business people, and obviously John Lennon had seen a UFO with his then-girlfriend May Pang, whom he dated between marrying Yoko Ono, breaking up with her briefly, and then getting back together with her. We understand, like Tommy James of Tommy James and the Shondells was very interested in UFOs. And what was the name of that fellow? I can't think of his name. Worked with a hard rock band.
Oh, right. Just a couple of weeks ago, some guy came forward. Some musician claimed he was abducted out in the desert or something.
Sammy Hagar was abducted. He worked briefly.
Never heard of him. Sorry.
You never heard of Sammy Hagar?
No.
He replaced David Lee Roth in a certain rock and roll band.
Okay.
So you never heard of him? Yeah, he's one of these. No. I mean, I couldn't recognize. a Sammy Hagar recording at all.
Yeah, I do. I don't like to drive 55. That was his one major hit as a solo artist, but he was in the rock band Tim Van Halen. He became the singer during the 90s and came out. Well, he's come out with a couple of things. He's come out with a very good tequila called Cabo Wabo. And he also came out of the closet and claimed a couple of years back that he had an up-close and personal abduction experience. And he was serious about it. You know, people, of course, thought maybe he was just having fun with it. But he said, no, I'm serious. This really happened to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens to all sorts of people in all walks of life. I just wish it would happen to James Randi or Joe Nickel or one of those guys. All of a sudden wake up, you know, have a sore butt, weird memories, have to go get hypnotically regressed. Man, I would love to see that.
What about you guys? Have you not had any experiences like that?
I did when I was 7. It changed my life. When I was a little kid, I had an up close and personal encounter experience. There was no communication, no, paralysis or anything like that. But it forever, irrevocably altered my reality view. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way. And for many, many years, I was a closet UFO buff. I'm embarrassed to admit it. I had, bought dozens and dozens of books, started reading UFO books at a very, very young age. Frank Edwards, Valet, John Keel, of course, Donald Keough and Adamski and all the classics from the 50s. I got my hands on at one point or another. Have quite a collection of first editions from going all the way back to 1950. It's changed my life, but they've never come back for a visit, to my knowledge. It's like, hey, you show up, you freak me out, and then that's it. I guess maybe I didn't pass the audition or something. I don't know. Other than that, I've seen dozens of sightings in the San Luis Valley. Sometimes I'd see several in one night. Yeah. But ever since I moved here to Arizona, my sighting experiences have only, I can count them on one hand. I've only had 3. Three good ones. We all see lights in the sky that we can't explain. Even trained observers, people that should know better, occasionally will see something that doesn't conform to their level of training and awareness. Of course, I've had many of those, but the ones I like are the up close and personal daylight sightings. Those are the ones that really, I think, have the most scientific data that we can glean from them. I'm trying to put together a 24/7 high-def surveillance camera setup around the San Luis Valley. We're about ready to get the amount of bandwidth we need to operate this thing on the internet. 7 cameras on cell towers. And when we had the first startup of the test of the first camera, we had 2 humanoid forms fly at about 30 miles from the camera, but all the way out at 36 power optical zoom. 2 humanoid forms flew right across the western side of the Great Sand Dunes out there. And
like Superman, humanoids flying in the air?
Well, they were like sitting down with big.
I've got a couple of cases. I got a couple of cases in my new book. I think Mexico. Offhand, I think in Mexico, and maybe.
There's been quite a number down there over the years.
Yeah.
And some pretty interesting video footage. If it's not balloons.
Yes, I've seen some of them. I mean, it just looks like a guy flying through the air.
Yeah. These were like seated type figures with their legs
That's right. Yeah.
With large, what looks like some sort of hardware on their back, like a giant backpack, like an astronaut would wear.
Yeah.
This is fascinating that all this stuff happens to Chris. With me, maybe I had a UFO sighting in the 60s, maybe, but it wasn't specific enough. And I'll leave it at that.
Location.
I was always in the wrong location, my friend, but, well, except for that one instance where back in the late 1960s, I saw something in the sky, a light, made a rapid maneuver, then it disappeared, and that's all I can say. In our discussion last week with David Roundtree, he was talking about UFOs being dangerous to your health. I guess to some degree he'd be talking like the Cash Landrum episode from 1980 where Betty Cash suffered some severe symptoms that may have smacked of possible radiation poisoning or something similar. And, of course, John Burroughs, from the Rendlesham case, when he appeared on the Paracast, he talked about touching a landed UFO, and things weren't quite the same after that. So the question I would ask, and this is one that we'll have to pursue to the next segment of our show, the final segment, and that is Timothy Good, in all of your investigation of UFOs. And we talk here about possible hostile alien beings. But the key question here is whether UFOs are dangerous to your health, whether getting in close proximity could cause possible ill effects like radiation poisoning. You'll have that answer in our next segment with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Wishing you the brightest of Christmas seasons and best wishes for the new year from the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
You're fired.
According to the Small Business Administration, 75% of small businesses plan to eliminate jobs or reduce workers' hours to part-time.
You're fired.
According to Gallup, the unemployment rate recently jumped to nearly 9%, and the underemployment rate hit a staggering 17.9%.
You're fired.
1 out of 3 young adults and 1 out of 2 recent college graduates are underemployed. Hello, I'm Keith Abel, a pharmacist and a home business entrepreneur. In 2011, I became one of those statistics myself. Instead of looking for another job in corporate America, I joined Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. We're creating steady incomes for ourselves and would like to show you how to do the same. If you want to supplement your current income, replace your income, so you don't have to become one of the statistics, then give me a call toll-free at 866-257-3105, 866-257-3105.
You're fired.
Don't wait till you hear those words. Start creating an extra income today. 866-257-3105.
This is Hilly Rose, and I hope that you do listen to the Paracast because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
So should we give a health warning with UFOs? Certainly our guest last week, David Roundtree, suggested the very same. With Gene and Chris, we have Timothy Good, and I'm going to ask you that question. UFOs, dangerous for your health? We should stay away from them? What?
I think it depends. I think the Cash Landrum case of December 1980, I think it was, definitely Betty Cash was irradiated from it. I mean, to me, that was an American craft, nuclear-powered craft, which obviously got into trouble, and it was being escorted by, I think, 23 Chinook helicopters, and it was losing height rapidly, and then they were trying to regain height and everything, and it clearly irradiated the people in Betty Cash and two other passengers. She was, I think, because she got out of the car, she looked up, she suffered more radiation than others. But I myself think that craft was an American craft. Generally speaking, there are no harmful effects from the more conventional alien spacecraft, if you like. But there have been people who have been irradiated by something, or they've done something wrong in climbing on board the craft, because some people have been sort of electrocuted, not to the point of decease, obviously, but some people have been injured occasionally, very rare occasions, climbing on board these craft. But generally speaking, there's nothing harmful about them.
Yeah, unless you're running underneath it like Travis Walton tried to do and he got zapped. Other than that, it's pretty rare, though. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
You don't really hear too much about, the Michalak case in Canada was a case where there appeared to be some residual radiation effects. And the French case of Dr. X that Vallée talked about had some interesting physical effects from a close proximity encounter.
Yes.
And there have been others, but for the most part, they're kind and cuddly, and they don't want to do us harm. I just wish they'd ask to be taken to our leader and maybe read him the Riot Act or something, or maybe get taken to the head of the Joint Chiefs and read them the Riot Act. And
I think there have been meetings, I think, with the Joint Chiefs and others in the military. It's essentially a military problem.
This leads us to the biggest question of all, which is, all right, we have your books, your theories about possible really, really hostile aliens and doing us harm. How do we end up proving any of this? Because we can all write books, and you just happen to do it better than a lot of people. And you can accumulate a lot of stories. But how do we prove this is so? Because this has got to be the most important information of the ages, that human civilization is going to change big time unless we do something right away.
Well, sure. I mean, unless we get some sort of major announcement that it's all real, I don't know. But as far as individuals are concerned, most people do not have the chance to have a close encounter of the third kind or whatever, fourth kind or whatever. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that question.
Well, the key is here, of course, that I know that when this show is broadcast, a number of our listeners are going to say, well, this guy's just telling a lot of really fanciful stories, and that's fine, and that's dandy, but he can't prove any of it. So how do we prove it? It's got to be important to prove, because we've been playing around in this UFO game for many years, you and I. Chris, a few less years, but not that many less. And a lot of us aren't as young as we used to be. Is this going to be solved in our lifetimes? Or what?
I don't know. I would think it's already been solved as far as the military is concerned, because they have had communications and they've replicated the technology, and the technology has been given to us. A lot of our guys are flying these things.
But we're not going to other star systems, are we?
I don't know. I honestly haven't the faintest idea.
Yeah. Serpo. We got to get Ken Caston on, Len Caston on the show. Talk about Serpo.
Yeah, got to be good. I'm fascinated by some of the statements that have been made over the years. For example, Ben Rich. This is what he said in 1993. 1993. This was during a presentation to the Engineering Alumni Association at the University of California in LA, of which Ben Rich was an alumnus, back in March of 1993. This is what he said, and it's on record. We already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. Anything you can imagine, we already know how to do.
Yeah, we had Jan Harzan on the show a number of months back, who was actually at that meeting.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yep, Jan was there. And he chased him down afterwards and tried to get more information
they had a
out
chat
of him.
with him. Yeah.
I found that a very, very interesting scenario. Of course, some people say that he was actually joking, trying to, use some deadpan humor. But that's not what Harzan thought. He thought that he was being serious.
Occasionally, you get some leaks. People talk about, why doesn't the president say something? Well, just over a year ago in Moscow, there was a television interview given by Dmitry Medvedev. He was former president, but he's prime minister now, and they swap positions. Putin was prime minister at one stage, now he's president. But this was following a television interview on December the 7th, 2012. A journalist interviewed Medvedev, supposedly off the air. At one point, the prime minister was asked if the president had been handed secret files on aliens when receiving the briefcase needed to activate Russia's nuclear arsenal. Along with the briefcase with nuclear codes, responded Medvedev, the president is given a special top-secret folder which in its entirety contains information about aliens who have visited our planet and a report of the absolutely secret special service that exercises control over aliens on the territory of our country. I will not tell you how many of them are among us because it may cause panic. And that was, I'm not saying it was official. I don't think he thought it was being recorded. Some reports stated that he was laughing as he said this, but he wasn't, because I've got the video, and he was absolutely dead serious when he revealed that information to the journalist who had presumably a concealed microphone.
Right. I was always under the impression that he was just joking around about that, because didn't he come back out and say something similar a short time later after the story broke?
I'm not aware of that. It's quite possible he did, but I've got the video of that. Or at least I did have. Unfortunately, my computer crashed about a month or so ago, and I'll get it back, but I don't know what's going to be lost on it. Quite a lot of stuff, I expect.
Well, if you lived down the street, I'd help you. I have a friend who lives in your country who might.
All right.
But there you go. I don't know. Hey, please tell our listeners where they can find more of what you do.
Well, I would say the best bet, if you go to my website, which is www.timothygood.co, that's .co.uk, and you can contact me at info@timothygood.co.uk. That's all lowercase. And for books, the best bet is always Amazon. My latest book was published in New York in October this year, but it's not available over in the United Kingdom, but it is obviously available to all and sundry via Amazon UK and Amazon US.
Of course, Chris O'Brien's book, Stalking the Herd, a big, thick book about counter-mutilation, setting the record straight. It's going to be out very soon now. He also has
I'd like to get that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll make sure Chris gets you an autographed copy, okay?
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, you see, I'm making decisions for Chris, so question me later.
Thanks,
on,
Gene.
giving my best anyway.
Yes.
My handler here.
Okay, speaking of being handled, you can handle us over at Twitter, where we're known as the Paracast. Visit our site, theparacast.com. Check our forums, forum.theparacast.com, or look at the Paracast Fan Club on Facebook. In fact, there are two of them there. Maybe we'll make them one someday if we figure out how. Tim Good, thanks for joining us this week on the Paracast.
It's been my pleasure.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.